right, Stochastic, here we go. It's your old pal Emac coming to you on a Saturday morning. Bonus show for me, double bonus show for Adam, coming off a six-figure win, and he gets to hang out with me, and he's not hungover. This is like the triple witching hour. What's going on, Adam? I thought you'd tie one on for old time's sake.
Yeah, I should have if I looked at the schedule. Maybe I'd have gone out last night, but no, it's nice. Throwback to when Saturday mornings were you and me every week.
It was, yeah, that was, I think we've done a couple this season, so it's fun. I get to duck in here every now and then. Neil is on, I think he's on vacation or a wedding. I can't remember which. So I got tabbed here at the last minute. You'll also get
Neil keeps being at weddings, but for a 40-year-old, like, how does he know people getting married?
I don't know. And that was that the biggest shock that he just turned 40. I had him pegged as a fellow old.
Yeah, he's always been in that range where like he could be like my age or he could be 20 years older than me, and I have no idea. Yeah. We're just making fun of Neil because he makes fun of us, and it all isn't good fun. Alrighty, we've got 13 games today. We're sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. A couple things you guys need to know about that. We are in the middle of best ball season. I am firing off the slow drafts left and right over there. And let's see, we've got a couple good deals here for you. Let me scroll to this. So when you sign up for Underdog using the link below us here or the promo code Stochastic, not only do you get a chance to double your first deposit up to $100, you will also get free access to the 2023 Best Ball and Fantasy Football package that is brought to you, that's season-long football, that is brought to you here by Stochastic. So I've been using our rankings to do a lot of best ball drafts. I have been mostly playing on the full PPR sites, but I have Underdog earmarked for some of their contests. They have excellent buy-in points, including the Pomeranian is usually when they pop those up, it's like $3 or $5. So those fill out quick. And they have Best Ball Mania 4 out there, $2 million prize pool to first place. So it's a lot of fun. Check out Underdog Fantasy, and it works for daily fantasy as well because they have pick'em contests over there. You guys know how the fantasy props work, but they also have daily drafts for MLB contests going on right now. They also have them for PGA, and of course they will for football. That's a lot of fun as well. If you've got your phone and a little bit of time, which I hope most of us do, you can knock one of those out in about 15 minutes for that day's contests. And the tip for MLB, people don't stack as much, especially like the third or fourth most popular stack of the day. You can get that correlation, which will help you in their contests. All righty, Adam. Fun night of baseball last night for me. I thoroughly enjoyed. I did day job stuff till about 7, so I thoroughly enjoyed last night getting to kick back a little bit. Did you get any sweats in last night, or are you still just basking in the glow from your $113,000 night? Yeah, nothing good last night. Still enjoying Tuesday. I came close to wins on like Wednesday and Thursday also, but no, nothing last night. But I did enjoy the Orioles game. That was fantastic.
I sort of lost track after it went in the rain delay. I saw Grayson and Allen. He went last night. Did he have like 6 or 7 shutout innings, something along? He had like a no hitter for a little bit, anyways.
Yeah, Grayson Rodriguez.
Grayson Rodriguez. Yeah. Milwaukee Bucks, baby.
Yeah.
Back to NBA.
He went 6 in the third scoreless. Garrett Cole also didn't give up a run. It was 0-0 going bottom 9, and Santander hit a walk-off home run.
Gotcha. I started watching the Mariners game because they popped off 4 runs in the first, and they are my team.
Yeah, and then they completely stopped.
Yes. And here I'm making fun of Neil for being a fellow old, yet I can't even get names correct. I'm not an old now. I'm an ancient. Let's jump into this. Couple weather spots of note. We'll want to keep track of things in the Mid-Atlantic. Pittsburgh looking like there could be a little bit of weather activity early on. Nothing more than a delay. Kansas City is the biggest wild card. It could end up postponed. It could end up with severe weather alerts, or it could be just fine. Welcome to summer in the Midwest. Same thing for St. Louis. Also has possibility of dealing with the similar weather pattern as well. And then Baltimore and Atlanta just dealing with standard humidity showers. Should not have enough coverage to really impact the game unless it sits atop the stadium. Adam, we're going to dive into pitching first here. We've got the Philadelphia Phillies at Pittsburgh taking on the Pirates. Zach Wheeler coming off a strong showing last night. Can Aaron Nola duplicate that feat? What do you got for us in this tilt of Titans?
Yeah, I mean, one quality pitcher here and one pitcher who we don't need to worry about too much. Aaron Nola, good spot. Park upgrade for him. Now, he has, for whatever reason, always throughout his career been better in Philly, but it's still a good park to pitch in. 4.2 implied run total for the Pirates. Their active roster against right-handed pitching slightly above average, 102 WRC plus. Actually, they're back down to 97 after yesterday. 97 WRC plus this year, but they have been striking out. 24.7% K percentage. Sets up pretty nicely for Nola. Right now, he is second in top 2 pitcher percentage at 17%. He's getting 21% ownership. The ownership should be held in check because you do have quality pitching in the 9 to 10K range or even 8 to 10K range. So you are paying a premium for Nola, but he looks good. No issues getting to him. No real reason to be looking to Quinn Priester. Doesn't have good strikeout stuff. Doesn't have a great matchup. Not getting any ownership. He's last in top 2 pitcher percentage, but Nola certainly looks interesting.
All right, flipping this over to the bats, I'm guessing you're looking for Kyle Schwarber. Do you pencil him in for a home run, or is this chiseled in stone that he's going to get a home run tonight?
Yeah, I mean, Schwarber looks great. The Phillies in general look good. It's not a great hitter's park, but still 5.4 implied run total. Limited sample in the majors so far for Priester, but he doesn't project to be very good at this point. And so far, 173 expected ISO with just a 10% K percentage to lefties, 16% K percentage to righties, 194 expected ISO. Again, very limited sample, but he's not projected. He doesn't project to be a whole lot better going forward. So the Phillies do look good. They're coming in 6th in top stack percentage at 6%. Today's slate is comparable to yesterday, where you just have a lot of teams that look very similar to each other. Philadelphia is certainly one of those teams, but 4% projected ownership, 6% chance of being the top stack. They look pretty good. Pirates on the other side, obviously less appealing against Nola. Second from the bottom in top stack percentage. Not particularly interested in getting there.
All righty. So here's the thing about Pittsburgh. We are going to just continue talking about them probably down for the rest of the games down the stretch. They're starting 4 rookies pretty much every day now with Henry Davis, Andy Rodriguez, Jared Triolo, and Nick Gonzalez. Combined, they have about 260 at-bats against right-handers in the majors this year. So it's even less against lefties. So we're going to be looking to target Pittsburgh. They just traded away Carlos Santana to the Brewers.
Yep.
And it wouldn't surprise me if Yi-Man Choi moves. I'm sure Andrew McCutchen, if a contender wanted him, he'd probably go, but he's looking to kind of spend his last days here in Pittsburgh. So he's probably content no matter what. But yikes, this is a rather thin lineup. So
yeah, the top of it is fine. Sawinski's good and having a good year. Reynolds is good. McCutchen's fine. Henry Davis is good. But other than that, it's like you were saying, a lot of young guys who probably aren't that good right now. I am kind of separating Henry Davis from the rest of that group because I think he is good right now.
He's the tipping point, even though he has 150 total at bats in his career.
Yeah, he's just more advanced than the other guys. The other guys may be good at some point, but Davis is ahead of them right now. So it's not an easy top of the lineup. But as they're getting younger, as this lineup is getting younger, you're getting more strikeouts. Removing Santana makes it a better strikeout matchup. So overall, good matchup for Nola.
All righty, let's go on to our next one. We've got the Guardians in Chicago taking on the White Sox here. Logan Allen, interesting option. For some reason, I did not think he was a rookie.
That's my because mind, there was another Logan Allen that pitched for Cleveland.
Yes, and that was just, I went down that rabbit hole earlier today, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And then the other Logan Allen, I think, ended up with the Mariners, and it's one of those things where I feel like we've heard that name a lot, yet this is the only Logan Allen that's appeared in the show. And then I started reading about his changeup, Adam. Apparently he throws a changeup that has less than 1,000 rotations per minute on it, which sort of mimics a knuckleball. And so changeups, essentially what they do is, and he throws it as a circle change. So, they it's like kind of like the okay sign. They're throwing that and they're trying to mimic a fastball. But what happens is because the changeup is slower, gravity has a little more time to take effect on those 60 feet 6 inches getting to the plate. It allows it to drop more. What's happening with his changeup is with the very little, by comparison, rotation on the ball, the seams aren't kind of boring into a track that keeps it on a steady plane. So not only is his dropping, it can move from side to side, which is much more effective outside in a less controlled environment, which makes this kind of an intriguing pitch for this one. And then I started reading about Devin Williams, who's like the exact opposite with his changeup. It was a fun morning, Adam. I clearly was not doing the day job work I should have been, but I went.
Did you read the FanGraphs article?
Yes, FanGraphs, and there were like 2 others that linked to. So I burned like 40 minutes checking this stuff out this morning as I was writing my article. But I found it fascinating, and I'm just teeing this over to you because I know you're ensconced in all the details on this. Do you want to speak to that a little bit? And do you think Logan Allen's in a good spot despite the elevated salary?
Yeah, I mean, the changeup's a really good pitch. Like, you look at what it's done to righties, and it's important, especially for left-handed hitters, or left-handed pitchers rather, to have a good changeup essentially, because it's one of the most effective pitches neutralizing opposite-handed hitters. So he's thrown 263 of them to right-handed hitters this year, 16.7% swinging strike percentage, only a 200 expected WOBA, no power allowed. So it's a big reason he's been so good. All of that being said, it's still tough to get a lot of him on this slate. He's projected for about 5% ownership. He's $9,000. He's good. He's just in a price range where other pitchers are better. He's also had issues with efficiency this year. He does get strikeouts, walks about 8% of hitters, but you've had quite a few starts for him where he ends up getting pulled relatively early because he's at, 95 pitches in 4 innings or whatever it may be. So he's a good pitcher, 24% strikeout percentage, 3.94 xFIP. If you get to him as a contrarian play, that's perfectly fine, but it is a good hitter spark. The White Sox do have a 4.5 implied run total. It's difficult to get a lot of him when he's slightly more expensive than Hunter Brown. He's similarly priced to Darvish. He's not that much less than Paxton. He's more than Bradley. There's just, a lot of other options as well. Yeah,
I was sad that he wasn't about mid-7s on DK.
I actually had time this morning to run, make lineups and sim them and all of that. If the slate started for me right now with current, projected lineups and all of that, I'd have like 1% Logan Allen across 150.
Okay. Yeah, it was sort of a kind of a price point play. The other, he is an okay pivot off of Bailey Ober if the weather is going to be going to be a little dodgy there in Minnesota. So that's kind of where I was landing on it with him. But the interesting thing, particularly on DraftKings today, is you've got the Dodgers. Happy Luke Weaver Day in advance, by the way. You've got the Dodgers taking on Luke Weaver with a 6 implied run total. Atlanta's taking on their former friend Julio Teheran, and they have a 6 implied run total. And they have expensive hitters, unlike Coors Field. So today there's going to be a lot of ways we can gain differentiation from the field by spending on those hitters. And there are less ways to spend on pitchers with effective upside. There's a lot of good pitchers today, but they're in tougher matchups or crappy price points. So it's going to be a fun tournament slate either way. I still have Logan Allen on the short list, but like you, he'll probably start to slide down the list there.
And also, I forgot that I had already done all this work because normally I don't. But if the slate started right now, I'd be at about 12% on NOLA. So I'd be a little under the field, but that's certainly a spot where, like, by the time lock rolls around, if we get some unexpected value bats and it just gets easier to get to NOLA, I'm obviously happy to be getting more.
So let's use this as a quick session here, Adam, and knock it out of the way. Now, let's talk about the simulations, because we've got a simulation product here at Stochastic that we have recently launched. I'll put that information up on the screen here. But Adam, talk a little bit about the simulations. You mentioned before the show that you've used ours. You and Josh have also sort of built out your own, which is impressive in and of itself. But what is the strategy behind the simulations? Because I, like an idiot, when I first started looking at them, thought, I'll just put all my lineups in there and it'll tell me which the best ones to play are. Which the answer is, yeah, it absolutely will. Only playing against those other lineups. So if you put 200 crappy lineups in there, it's going to show you the 10 that have the best ROI. And then you're going to put those in contests, and you're not playing those crappy lineups in the contest. You're playing actual good lineups. So talk a little bit about the strategy of simulations and what you're trying to do with those.
Yes, I mean, it's if you do it correctly, it's really powerful because it's essentially the easiest or the best way to combine all the stuff we talk about on shows and in content, median projections, range of outcomes, ownership, all of that, and figure out, what your best chances to win a tournament are. But the thing that you're alluding to is you need to be simulating lineups against each other that are at least somewhat representative of the field you're playing against. Like, for example, if the field's going to play Atlanta stacks 20% of the time, and you simulate 2,000 lineups against each other, and you only put in, 5% Atlanta stacks, it's going to tell you should be jamming in Atlanta because it thinks they're 5% owned as opposed to 20. So it's simulating the lineups you put in against each other, telling you what's going to, what comes out the best over tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of simulations, but it still has to be against a reflective field. But if it is, then it's just combining all the things we talk about and sort of like quantifying, how you should be weighting these things. Because like, obviously when we do shows, you can kind of get bogged down and like, well, this pitcher is underowned or this stack is underowned, but like, does that necessarily mean you're playing a ton of them? Not always. And so it's really the best way that you can just put everything together.
All right, so I dropped the link into chat to get to this landing page, but you can see we've got a video here that sort of has Steve Buzzard describing how to utilize the sims. You guys remember back when he went on that heater in baseball and NBA at the same time, he was essentially doing beta testing on our simulation tools and some of his own process. And, he only brought home $500,000 in about a 10-day span. So while your results may vary, this is a very powerful tool that is available now to the less than sophisticated developer, right? So we are all probably pretty solid with Excel or Google Docs or Google Sheets, but programming, not so much. Even for me, my knowledge sort of ends at VBA and Excel. So things that are important to note. Yes, this is $100, $180 a month, and we aren't offering a discount on that. The reason is it's a very powerful tool. Took a lot to create it in development, and it's a resource intensive site. So we're just putting it, or a product. So we're just kind of putting it in at this price point. It's fair. It's $3 a day, or pardon me, $6 a day. If you're doing baseball, if you're playing a couple $100 a day, this is probably for you. If you're playing $10-20 a day, lineup generator, we'll talk about that later. That's probably for you. Scaled down version that does use a lot of principles that already baked into this simulation tool for itself. But this is unlike anything that's really on the market. You upload a CSV with the lineups you want to simulate. It simulates them against themselves under contest scenarios or real game scenarios and outcomes for the 1,000 times, and then tells you which has the best expected ROI. You want to play around with it a little bit so you understand the outputs. As Adam said, it's going to start to look for the better expected ROI or expected value. It's going to push these teams to the top that you may not expect or you may not even want. Why is it doing that? Because it's looking on a very long time horizon to say that when these teams hit, and there's still a decent chance they're going to hit, but that decent chance is 1 or 2%, right? You get a couple of those throughout the season, you're going to make big bucks. It's looking at that long time horizon. So some of the plays it may tell you are going to be a little uncomfortable, but it also helps you understand where the field could be making mistakes. And with baseball, we're trying to harness the chaos of the variance. And this is something that helps understand where that's going to go by simulating this 40,000 times. So it's a pretty fun tool. Check out the video there by Steve. You can dabble with it as well. And now you don't have to listen about the Sims tool anymore, but there you are. But you saw the results from, Steve, from 1-800-EDDIE. You've seen Adam crushing with the similar, see what I did there? Similar methodology, as has one Mr. Josh Engelman. All right, let's get back to the baseball. We've got a lot of games to cover here, Adam. Let's see. No more Ahmed Rosario. He was traded to the Dodgers. Do you like any of the Cleveland Guardians going against Mike Clevenger? And I'm assuming you're just skipping over Clevenger.
Yeah, I don't really see any reason to get to Clevenger. I wouldn't have him at all if the slate started right now. As far as Cleveland bats, they're just showing up middle of the pack for me, 4 or 5%, 5-man stacks. The field right now is projected to have them around 6 to 7%. So pretty similar there. Individually, obviously Jose Ramirez is the guy you typically get to first. I have around 9% if the slate started right now. So they do look okay. It's a nice home run park, nice park upgrade for them there. 233 expected ISO allowed to lefties from Clevenger this year, only 126 to righties. So obviously you're looking for left-handed power primarily. Jose Ramirez is where you start. Josh Naylor looks good at 4,400. That's pretty much where left-handed power on this team dies, but you do get reasonable prices on, Jimenez at second base, Josh Bell if you can't quite afford Naylor, Will Brennan's 2,500, Bo Naylor's got some power at catcher at 2,900. So it is a pretty solid spot for Cleveland. 5 implied run total. Again, good home run park upgrade. So this is another team where right now I'm not getting a ton of them, but by the time lock rolls around, if my 4 or 5% has turned into like 8 or 9, I wouldn't be upset about it.
All right. Anything else from this battle of the Midwest?
The White Sox obviously are in the same good hitters park, and they have some power, but tough matchup against Allen. Has that good changeup to neutralize righties, like you mentioned. So 165 expected ISO to righties, 320 expected WOBA. It goes without saying that if you happen to be getting some Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, Andrew Vaughn, there's not Jake Berger, there's not a problem with any of that. But on this slate, they don't really stand out.
All righty. Our next game, Washington Nationals in New York taking on the Mets. You've got Patrick Corbin on the mound. He's only been horrible this season, which is a major improvement, Adam, because that 5 ERA seems somewhat palatable this year when, one, you compare him against Steven Strasburg, who may never pitch again, and what he has done the last 2 years. In the 2 years heading into prior to heading into the season across 64 or 62 starts, Corbin had a 6.1 ERA, a 5.2 FIP, and 64 home runs in just 324 innings. This year, strikeouts are down, so are the walks. Hey, some would say he's pitching to contact. Home runs ticking up because that's what he is good at here. The collective Mets, I know we don't like to do BVP, Adam, but the collective Mets have a 305, 380, 450 triple slash line against Corbin with 6 home runs, 12 overall extra base hits in 169 at bats. Those are the projected guys who are going to be in the lineup. Pete Alonso, of course, leads the way, 14 for 40, 5 home runs, 9 walks. And then even Jeff Neal and Brandon Nimmo, they are making contact, getting on base. I think combined they have two doubles in all of their time against Corbin. But this is not a good spot. Plus, it's going to be warm and humid here. I have recommended us rostering Corbin a few times. That's matchup dependent. This is definitely not one of them. We can go back and target him. That kind of takes care of Corbin. Do you have any thoughts on Carlos Carrasco? And then take us through the offenses here.
Yeah, I mean, Carrasco's having a terrible season. He's striking out 16% of hitters, walking 10%, 5 flat xFIP, 1.7 home runs per 9. Like, his numbers across the board basically are worse than Patrick Corbin's, but he's getting 8% ownership at 6,400. I'm getting around 16% right now if the slate started. And it's just that he's a cheap pitcher. And you mentioned it, that we have good pitching on this slate, but a lot of it is in difficult matchups or has some other pretty big risk factor. So paying down for pitching is somewhat appealing here. I'm getting around double the field on Carrasco. The Nats do only have a 4.2 implied run total. Carrasco certainly could improve as the year goes on. This is the first year he's been bad, so there is still some chance that he just kind of figures things out and gets back to what he's done in previous recent seasons. But basically just a price play. The Nats are a below average offense. They also don't strike out a lot, so clearly that hurts Carrasco's upside. But at this price, I don't mind taking some chances on him and just hoping he doesn't get lit up.
All right. If you're focusing in on non-Pete Alonso Mets here, rounding out stacks, where are you branching out towards? Is it mostly the righties, or would you put in those lefties who or at least not skip them, shall we say? It's hard to click them hand building, but I would have zero issue if they came in on my stacks.
Yeah, I mean, if you're stacking the Mets, you can by all means get to the lefties because, for one, they're good hitters. And for two, if you get the Corbin early, you're probably going to have the platoon advantage for most of the rest of the game with those lefties. But obviously, Pete Alonso stands out. Francisco Lindor looks good. Francisco Alvarez, assuming he's in the lineup, gives you a high upside catcher. So I'm not getting to the Mets as much as the field right now. But, again, that's really not super relevant this early in the morning. They look good. It's another team where they're not showing up for me at the moment. Certainly would be happy if they do by the time we get to lock. 195 expected ISO to righties for Corbin this year, 15.9% K percentage. And he has given up power to lefties too with a 206 expected ISO. So again, singling guys out, you're looking at Lindor, Alonso, Pham, Alvarez, in particular. But, if you're getting to some Nimmo, some McNeil, some Beatty, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, Francisco Alvarez, 19 home runs already. Pretty impressive there for him. And then Mark Conha is $2,800 on DK. That is one of kind of the cheat codes that will help you get to Dodgers and Atlanta Braves. Okay, let's continue on here, Adam. We got the Twins in Kansas City taking on the Royals. Now, this game does have some weather concern. I mentioned that, hey, it may not be anything that impacts the game, but we actually could see up to severe weather alerts, not quite tornado watch, it looked like. But there's mega thunder cells, thunders, I think that's what they're called, in the area, storm cells, but heavy dose of thunder and lightning, which could cause some delays or challenges, especially even if it's not raining over the ballpark. If there's lightning that is close by, they of course will have those rules impacted. So that puts our pitching at risk. The risk of an overall postponement this early out looks like it's about 10 or 15%. This game is, starting 5 minutes after lock. We'll have plenty of time to at least make a decision on this game. Remember, it's in the Midwest, so it's still late afternoon there, which is, prime time for these thunderstorms. I liked Bailey Ober. I just don't think I'm going to get to him with the potential of there being an in-game delay. And since he would go 6 or 7 innings, he would probably be impacted by it. So that sort of dampens my enthusiasm for him. I'm good with the Twins hitters. They disappointed a little bit last night, but you've got Jordan Lyles, who is just bad this season. Not Luke Weaver bad, but pretty bad. What do you got for this game here? And does the weather, let's say how do you handle weather?
I mean, right now I think the weather looks fine. So as long as it doesn't change, it doesn't seem like a big concern. I'm not getting to Ober just because he's 10-3. It's a good matchup, but 24% strikeout percentage. He's a solid pitcher, good matchup, all of that. But 24.5% strikeout percentage, 4.32 xFIP. It's just tough to get to that salary, especially on a slate where there are bats that I want to play. On the other side, certainly not interested in Jordan Lyles. Although I do have more Jordan Lyles right now than Bailey Ober.
Okay.
Like 3% to 1%.
Function of a $6,600 price tag.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the fact that I'm getting the 16% Carrasco and then some other pitching that we haven't talked about yet just tells me that anybody in that price range is going to be somewhat interesting.
All right. This just in, Jack Sawinski's birthday is today, Adam. Does that move the needle for you?
Yeah, get Les Nola and just jam Sawinski. Yes.
Now, what should move the needle is that Sawinski has 601 career at bats. He has 40 home runs. He's pretty impressive. Contact, not so much, but power, pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, 254 plate appearances against right-handed pitching this year, 327 ISO, 357 expected ISO.
That's good.
408 expected WOBA. Also a 30% K percentage, but who cares?
I mean, you take the good, you take the bad. Those are the facts of life. That was for you, Stephen Lee Woods. No one else is going to get that one. Let's continue on. A couple of good pitchers in Houston today, Adam. You've got Taj Bradley going against Hunter Brown. Bradley suddenly found strikeouts. Of course, he's not going to log a ton of innings, but hey, you're going to get a bunch of strikeouts from him. Houston, they have Jose Altuve back as well as Yordan Alvarez back. That makes them tough to target, but Bradley at an intriguing price point. You're hoping you get 6-7 strikeouts, 4 innings. Maybe he gives up 2 earned runs and you have a serviceable score here. On the other side, Hunter Brown going against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has they've come back to the pack a little bit. Still a top 3, top 4 offense in most categories, standard and advanced metrics. So tough lineup, not many easy outs here. How are you handling these pitchers? Are these two of the ones that are working their way into your portfolio?
Brown, if the slate started right now, would be my highest owned pitcher, which I don't love because he's facing Tampa, but it just goes back to what we've said a couple of times already. He's facing Tampa, but Yu Darvish is facing Texas. Paxton's facing the Giants. Bradley's facing Houston. You don't have Aaron Nola is the closest thing to a good pitcher in a good matchup. And even that, it's like an average. It's not a bad Pirates team. They do strike out a lot, but he's also a lot more expensive than these guys. So you are getting a little bit of a salary discount because of the matchup for Hunter Brown. He has the highest top 2 pitcher percentage on the slate. He has a 27.5% K percentage this year, 3.16 xFIP. He's a really good pitcher. You also have him in a controlled environment. He's inside. and we know that it's hot pretty much everywhere outside. So that's a nice advantage. 4 flat implied run total for the Rays. All things considered, yeah, it's a scary spot, but still getting around 39%. He's projected for 39.3% ownership. If the slate started right now, I would have 39.3%.
All right. So I'm guessing, how are you feeling about one-offs, or is this more of a stacking scenario? Or
I'm not really getting to the offenses at all. Clearly, both offenses are good, and you can make the case that they just have enough talent at low ownership, but they're also relatively expensive, at least the guys that you would want to get to. From the Tampa Bay side, Wander Franco, 5,700, Arozarena, 5,500 in particular. Tucker's 5,800, Bregman 53, Alvarez 59 on the other side. Neither pitcher is, both pitchers are good. Bradley has the highest strikeout percentage on the slate. Brown has allowed a 164 expected ISO to lefties, 118 to righties. So not like you have any glaring splits there. Bradley, 124 expected ISO to lefties. Righties have actually gotten to him a bit, 233 expected ISO. That may or may not continue, but if you are getting to these offenses, I would view it more as primarily a stacking spot where this isn't a good matchup for any particular hitter. But if Taj Bradley just doesn't have it today, the Astros have a ton of talent to take advantage, and vice versa with Brown against Tampa.
All right, I'm dropping the Underdog fantasy link here into the YouTube chat. You guys can also, I forgot to add that with that NFL season-long best ball package that comes with you, it does get rankings and projections for Underdog, as well as DraftKings, drafters, regular fantasy football rankings, and then also it does have playoff optimizer as well. When you sign up through our link or by using the promo code Stochastic here, you'll get that up to $100 deposit match, and then will reach out to you with a link to get you into that football package. It's not an automatic one. So if you do sign up under this offer, you can always reach out to support and expedite that. But we get the contact information from Underdog every day or every other day or so. So we'll get that to you as well. All righty, Adam, we've got some fun here in our next one. James Paxton, Ryan Walker. Just say no to Ryan Walker. Looks like a bullpen situation. Paxton, Spendy. Sean V would like to. Was it Sean V? Somebody was asking. I thought the Giants are not good. So talk a little bit about Paxton going against a just plethora of righties and his elevated price point, which makes him not great today, but still in the mix.
He looks good. There are strikeouts in the Giants lineup. Paxton against righties this year has a 32.5% K percentage compared to 18% against lefties. I'm actually curious to see what the Giants do. Like, this is a team that platoons very, very heavily. I'm curious to see if maybe they just leave the lefties in against Paxton as opposed to going to the righties, because he has given up more production to lefties, lower strikeout percentage, but only a 138 expected ISO to righties, 266 expected WOBA, 32.5% K percentage in a park that suppresses power. Paxton looks good here. And the Giants are, because of the strikeouts, a more favorable matchup than Houston or Tampa Bay, but they are still a productive offense. Like, if you look at their active roster against left-handed pitching since the start of last year, they only have a 98 WRC plus. But the thing you have to keep in mind is that they're going to put the guys in their lineup that hit left-handed pitching and not play the ones that don't. So their actual lineup is likely to be much more productive than that active roster number suggests. But again, Paxton is reverse splits. He has no issue getting righties out. The only problem here is that he is $9,900, so you are sacrificing things to get to him. I'm getting to around 12% right now. He's projected for 21% ownership, but he does look good at $9,900 if you can find the salary.
Do you have the Paxton player page open?
Like the FanGraphs page?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I know he's.
Well, I was gonna say I always make the joke that he has yet to make 150 starts despite debuting in the 2013 season with the Mariners. But I think today is
150.
It is 150. Okay. Yeah. Crazy that just the injuries have just ravaged this poor guy. The big maple from Canada.
Yeah, Vancouver, a total of 6 starts from 2020 through 2022.
No bueno.
But he is back. Like, that's been good to see because, obviously there were questions, what is he going to look like post-injury? But overall this year, 29.1% K percentage, 3.7 FIP.
How about the Red Sox? They are they buying? Are they selling? Do we know?
I don't
At
think
least
they
they're
know.
putting out the top half of their lineup still good. Plus, Tristan Casas gets home runs every now and again. Do you have any interest in the Red Sox today?
I'm not really getting to him much right now. The park just suppresses power so much. You have plenty of good hitting options on this slate that we have him with a 2% chance of being the top stack, 2% ownership. Nothing that looks particularly interesting.
All right. Well, this next game's going to be interesting because it's got your Baltimore Orioles in it, Adam. You've got the New York Yankees in town. Clark Schmidt going against Tyler Wells. Tyler Wells, yet another guy, good pitcher. Actually, a decent matchup against the Yankees. They did get Aaron Judge back, so that does improve their lineup. It's going to be hot and humid in Baltimore, which does have Camden Yards playing a little more hitting friendly, particularly with power after those renovations kind of made it into a more neutral-ish park in the cooler months. What do you have in this one? Any intrigue in the pitchers here for you?
Not particularly interested in the pitching. Tyler Wells does have good strikeout stuff. I'm getting like 4% of him. I'm not getting to Clark Schmidt, which is weird. I always get to Clark Schmidt, but tough matchup for him. Obviously the Orioles have a lot of power, a lot of left-handed power, which does play up in Camden Yards, as opposed to right-handed power, which dies in Camden Yards. 4.9 implied run total for Baltimore, 4.6 for the Yankees. Also a $9,600 price tag on Tyler Wells, so it's not like you're getting a discount or anything. 25% K percentage is good. Does also have a 4.56 xFIP and is one of the league leaders in home runs allowed.
What do you think the odds are of a quality start from Wells today? Like 50-50? That could get him in play on FanDuel.
Yeah, I could get him in play on FanDuel. I'd probably go a little bit lower than 50-50.
Okay.
Just because the Yankees do have Judge back. They do have a 4.6 implied run total.
Yeah. He can let the bull. Well, is the bullpen going to give up any runs? Congratulations on the Orioles, all their call-ups, the bullpen. You won 6 figures the other day, and no more Dan Snyder.
Yeah, sports have been fun lately for me.
Notice there's a little more pep in your step.
Right.
So the general malaise and depression that is the sports fandom in the DC metro area is lifting somewhat at this point. How about from the Orioles side here? Any of their offensive options that you'd like here? And when is Cedric Mullins expected back?
They don't really have a timetable on him. He's been running, like sprinting straight line, but not running bases yet or anything. Okay. Hicks said he'll be back as soon as he's eligible. So that's nice because both of those guys missing does water down the lineup a bit. Like Colton Cowser's a top prospect, but struggling so far, having a little bit of trouble adjusting to the majors. Obviously a step back from Mullins and Hicks. So that has hurt the lineup a little bit. But as far as getting to them, I would love to. I'm not, but it's just another one of those teams where there's a lot of offenses on this slate. So just because I don't have much of something right now, it doesn't mean it's a bad play or you shouldn't play them or anything. Baltimore is in a perfectly fine spot. Clark Schmidt, 187 expected ISO to left-handed hitters this year, only a 19% K percentage. Henderson, Rutschman, Santander, O'Hearn, Frazier, Cowser, all from the left side. The righties are solid enough, Mountcastle, Hayes, Westberg. So it's just a good lineup, and it is favorable hitting weather. The park is really good for left-handed power still. So if you get there, cool. I'm actually getting to more of the Yankees. We have them projected for about 2% aggregate ownership. I have about 7% 5-man stacks. And the reason they're interesting is that while Wells does strike guys out, he also gives up power. He has allowed a 256 expected ISO, 258 actual ISO to right-handed hitters this year. Aaron Judge looks great. Torres looks good. Stanton looks good. LeMahieu looks as good as LeMahieu can. Bader looks good. Volpe looks fine. So this part kills right-handed power, which isn't ideal for this Yankees lineup that doesn't have much left-handed power. But Wells also just has a problem with leaving pitches right in the middle of the plate and them getting hit really far. So the Yankees are actually showing up for me as a stack that I'm getting over the field on. And also, to your point about the bullpen, so the Yankees have the best bullpen in baseball. Orioles, I believe, are 6th. But the Orioles bullpen is very, very heavily skewed toward the back end. Like if this is a close competitive game, like last night's game, and you get to the back end where Fuji's coming in the 7th, Cano's coming in the 8th, Bautista's coming in the 9th, you're in trouble. But if you get to Tyler Wells early and you can get into the middle part of this bullpen, I don't want to say it's bad. They still have guys that are capable of pitching, but you have a much better chance of having success if you get into the middle part of this bullpen.
Alrighty, here's a quick way for you guys to get 30 days of Stochastic Premium. Dropping the link in there for the Stochastic Avatar. Go to stochastic.com/avatar. Download the Stochastic Avatar, upload that to your DFS site of choice, place in a top 3 of any contest with at least 5,000 participants, first, second, or third. You can have a 3-way tie for first, but not a 100-way tie for first. You really need to finish top 3. You will get 30 days of Stochastic Premium free if you tweet your screenshot to Stochastic HOF over there on Twitter, or I guess are we calling it X now? Or you can always email us the screenshot. The rule is you got to have the screenshot showing your Stochastic Avatar because that's marketing, but that's also what gets you the 30 days of Stochastic Premium. Alrighty, Adam, back to baseball here. Let's go to the Midwest again. We've got the Chicago Cubs taking on the Cardinals. Adam Wainwright looks like he is toast. Went on the deal. I thought they were just going to call it tired arm. They did say it was a shoulder strain. He says he is feeling the best he has been all season. But sadly, the wheels have come off the wagon, and not even a Wainwright could fix it. You've got Jamison Taillon on the other side. He has been eminently hittable here, particularly when giving up power. Despite this being a less than illustrious season for the Cardinals, they still are an above-average team. They just have not had luck in the win column where they needed to. What do you want to do in this game? Are these two of the pitchers that are sneaking it for you? Please say they're not.
I mean, I have 1% Wainwright and 6% Taillon, so I'm right with the field on these guys. But no, I mean, if you wanted to find a positive for Taillon, it's that he has been legitimately good against righties this year. 286 expected WOBA, 123 expected ISO, 25% K percentage. The Cardinals have a pretty balanced lineup, but it skews righty heavy, especially in terms of the quality of hitters. Goldschmidt, Arenado, Contreras, O'Neill, all right-handed. Walker's right-handed. So that works in Taillon's favor. Those are still good hitters, though. So it's not like I'm looking at this saying like, oh, yeah, I think Taillon's going to have a great game. But there is at least that. He has been lit up by lefties. 16% K percentage, 295 expected ISO. Brendan Donovan, Lars Nootbaar, Nolan Gorman, all are going to look very, very good here. On the other side, like you said, Wainwright's been awful this year. He almost just has to get somewhat better, but still probably not be good. So the Cubs are pretty appealing as well. Right now, if the slate started, St. Louis would be my 5th highest owned stack, getting around 7% ownership to them. The field's projected for about 2%, so I'm getting over the field there. The Cubs are projected for 4%. I have 4%. So this is a game where I'm getting to a pretty good amount of offense.
Yeah, that makes it just – it's the way to do it. You've got the hot and humid weather here in the stadium, which is right near that little trickle of water called the Mississippi. So yeah, this is
Nootbaar is my highest owned hitter from this game right now.
He kind of came out of nowhere, didn't he?
I think I didn't know a lot about him. I don't know how big of a prospect he was.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I mean, I remember him popping up because he's got a hilarious name, right? Which is great and fun, and there we are. But for him to all of a sudden be in the middle of the order and legitimately worthy of being their cleanup hitter, it's pretty.
Yeah, cool. I mean, the Fangraphs has the 2018 prospects report. They had him ranked 31st in the Cardinals system.
You know, that lab underneath Busch Stadium just keeps churning out outfielders no matter what. All righty. Let's go to Atlanta where, hey, it's the summer. There's a chance of roving thunderstorms today. Don't think it should really impact the game. You've got Julio Teheran on the mound going against Bryce Elder. Somehow Bryce Elder was good enough to make the All-Star game, but the regression monster has since caught up with him. Julio Teheran, hey, this is a remember me game. He washed out of the league. He was so bad that he was essentially banished. He put up in 2020 and 2021, getting up to my notes here, so this is off memory, but he had like 36.1 innings, like a ungodly, like a 6 or 7 ERA, was just downright horrible, essentially washed out of the league. He has since clawed his way back. He has been adequate. He's changed a couple things here. And I need to find this because I want those notes. So he has changed his release point and stance on the mound, shortening his windup. He has also made adjustments to his curveball. I've said that hitters are going to catch up to this deception as they have more video to study. We've already seen this begin to happen. He did hold Atlanta to 1 run across 6 innings in his last start on Sunday, but in the 3 games prior to that, he allowed 17 earned runs in 20.1 innings, only a dozen strikeouts. This feels like we're going to get a batting practice game from him at some point, Adam. I'm going to keep going back to the Braves. Thank you to DraftKings and Yahoo for making their top 4 hitters incredibly expensive, because it's going to keep the masses at bay, but the savvy gamer is going to be able to stack them tonight. How are you feeling about Atlanta? This Tehran is just a speed bump in the road against this juggernaut offense?
Yeah, I mean, guys like Tehran always concern me just because, he is getting by on deception. He's, limiting power, particularly to right-handed hitters, only a 107 expected ISO. But just more often than not, when you get a stretch from somebody like this where it's like, oh, they reinvented themselves, but they didn't reinvent themselves as somebody throwing 99 miles an hour. They reinvented themselves as somebody throwing 90 and getting by on like weak contact and stuff and deception. More often than not, they disappear just as quickly as they reemerged. And especially in a spot against Atlanta, like, you're still going to want to get to the Braves. Now, to your point, they are extremely difficult to get to from a stacking standpoint. I only have like 2% 5-man Atlanta stacks, but individually or using them as a 2-man or 3-man, still appealing. Matt Olson, if the slate started right now, would be my 2nd highest owned first baseman. Acuna is my 3rd highest owned outfielder. So those 2 in particular, I'm getting to. I mentioned the lefty power, or righty's not hitting for a lot of power against him with a 107 expected ISO. Lefty's 220 expected ISO. So clearly Acuna, Riley, Murphy are all fine, but Matt Olson's the one that really stands out here.
Yes, I see S&P adds Tehran is throwing a cutter. Yeah, he has added that as well. I think he was throwing it around 28% of the time this year. The sweeper is messing up a lot of how people classify pitches, I think. Yeah. So I took that with a bit of a grain of salt, but that is worth calling out. It was just, and Adam had a better example. It's deception. It's smoke and mirrors. The league will catch him at some point.
I mean, maybe like Johnny Cueto continues to somehow do this.
Voodoo. Santa,
right, I mean, like
what is it? Black magic?
Cueto is the example of the guy like this, where for 4 years I've had no idea how he gets outs, but he continues to do it. It can happen. It normally doesn't.
We like to call that the Jamie Moyer effect,
right? I mean, Zach Greinke to some extent. Like, Greinke obviously is terrible for DFS, but like for most people, and like me included, if you just say like, how bad, if you just show somebody Zach Greinke's numbers this year, they would probably guess that like his FIPS will run higher than it is.
Yeah. All righty. Do you want to attack Bryce Elder at all here? You've got Christian Yelich, you've got Willy Adames, William Contreras, legendary Sal Frelick. He's now been in the league for a week. Has his own highlight reel. Adam, he's batting cleanup. What do you have here for the Brew Crew? Any thoughts?
Milwaukee's my 2nd highest owned stack right now. They are not. Wait, where are they? Oh yeah, they're middle of the pack in top stack percentage. 3% chance of being in the top stack. 2% ownership, but they are easy enough to get to. I always like when you have a good catcher and a good shortstop in a stack, and you certainly have that with Contreras and Adames. So if the slate started right now, Contreras would be my 2nd highest owned catcher. Adames 3rd highest owned shortstop. Getting around 10% Yelich, which is 5th highest amongst my outfielders. So Milwaukee looks fine here. And Bryce Elder's he's been lucky for a lot of the year. Now, he's not a bad pitcher in terms of preventing runs. 135 expected ISO to righties, 137 to lefties, but only striking out 20% of righties, 16.5% of lefties. Milwaukee just lets me build good teams around them. They're not getting much ownership. Again, it's not a spot where I'm looking at it and saying, like, I think this is a great spot. I love Milwaukee. There's no way that I don't play a lot of them today. There is just some inherent randomness in which of the stacks that look exactly the same in the middle of the pack move to the top. But I do think the fact that Contreras and Adames are the positions that they are just helps drive getting to Milwaukee, because what that does, like, the reason it's important, not only is it just tough to get upside at catcher and shortstop, but when you can include good hitters at those positions in your 5-man stack, it allows you to mix in the best one-offs, because you can use, outfield spots for one-offs or first base for one-offs or whatever it may be. So you're just going to get really good lineups that way, as opposed to teams that force you to be including first base and outfield in your stacks. Then you're like one-offing catchers, which nobody really wants to do that.
I'm having I didn't know he was still in the league moment. Abraham Toro. Hey, didn't know he was with the Brewers. Yep. Last I saw he was with the Mariners, but I think that was a couple of years ago. That was a post. He was traded, I think, during a series with Houston, if memory serves. But I'm an ancient, so memory may not be serving me well here. You know what's serving us well? Adam Coors Field serving up the offense. You've got Paul Blackburn tonight going against Chris Flexen. Hey, Mariners cut him. Colorado says, sure, we need someone to pitch. 12.5 implied run total here. It's going to be incredibly warm. It's going to be in the 90s here. This is going to be a 6:10 local start time. So you're going to get the upper 80s through most of the game here. Paul Blackburn, Chris Flexen, yeah, no thanks. Flexen survived with the Mariners. He had a couple years in the KBO. He was another guy that washed out of the league, but came back, was able to limit hard hits, able to limit power. He still had a lot of hard hits or hard exit velocity, but that's not going to play well in the spacious outfield of Coors Field. Paul Blackburn, I like him as a decent pitcher. He just is always hurt, but this is a tough ask for him playing in this environment. What do you got for us here, Adam? And where do you think the field's going to be more importantly with this stack?
Yeah, so I mean, right now we have Oakland projected as the highest owned stack at 11%, or sorry, second highest owned to Minnesota at 11%. 12% chance of being the top stack is the highest. They're first in stack score. I'm right there with the top stacks tool with the field. They're my highest owned stack if the slate started right now, about 11%. 5-man stacks at a 150, which is right in line with the field. So they just look good because, again, Flexen's not very good. He doesn't miss bats. So far this year, he's had power issues with righties more so than lefties. But the big thing is just that you're in Coors Field and you have a bad bullpen behind them as well. It's just going to be a good matchup all game for Oakland. Obviously, they're not a good hitting team either. So it becomes difficult to like single out the hitters that you really want. But they are cheap. JJ Bleday at 3,400 is going to look pretty good. Seth Brown looks good. Zach Galoff is relatively expensive for an ace hitter, but nice option at second base. Langoliers is always a nice catcher option. Soderstrom is also a catcher option. So they're just cheap. And essentially you're getting a team with a 6-run total that you can then build a really strong lineup around them as well. So they're easy to get to. Happy to get to them. On the other side, Blackburn is a better pitcher than Flexen and anybody else that's going to pitch for Colorado. 22% strikeout percentage, 4.3 xFIP this year. But that being said, it's still a huge park downgrade for him. Colorado showing up in about 7% of my lineups as a 5-man stack. Field's at about 10%, so I'm a little below the field there, but pretty much in line with their top stack percentage at 7.5%. Both of these offenses look good. I'm getting to the Oakland side more.
All righty. We're running late on time. Otherwise, we could talk about Paul Blackburn, but we're going to skip that. We got 3 more games here, so we're going to jump right into the next one. Arizona, Seattle. Roof is going to be closed in Chase Field. It is going to be warm in Arizona. You have Brian Wu on the mound. Tough ask for him going against the Diamondbacks. On the Diamondback side, you've got Brandon Fatty, right? Is that how you pronounce his name? No, you pronounce his name Fott, but it's more fun to say Fatty or Pafatti, right, Adam? No?
I'll take your word for it.
Fott is how you pronounce it. I had to go listen. Yeah, I love when I Google or on YouTube try to get pitcher or other player pronunciations, and you go to the highlight reel, and they do everything but say the name of the player because it's just little snippets of each good pitch, out, or play. You're like, come on, someone say the name so I know how to pronounce this. Yeah. Fortunately, Baseball Reference had it on his page as well. But he is a top prospect who has not performed well. He did end up going back to the minors. I'm talking about this because those of us degenerates playing the late slate, you're going to want to look to Brandon Fott. So he
don't limit it to the late slate.
Pardon?
Don't limit it to the late slate.
Oh, okay. This is going to be good. So he changed his positioning on the mound. I had a lot of time to read Fangraphs this morning, Adam. So he changed his positioning on the mound. Pitching coaches had him move almost a foot over from, he was leaning on starting his plant foot on the far right side of the rubber towards the third base side. They had him move almost a foot over to the first base side. And the hope is that his 94-mile-an-hour fastball does not look like a meatball coming over the plate anymore. They invoked the early version of Madsen Bumgarner. That's what they were going for. Hopefully not the late version of or the recently released version of Madsen Bumgarner. So it sounds like you're looking to Brandon Pfaadt as well. Talk to us a little bit here. I found his numbers in this story rather intriguing, or his underlying metrics. His MLB metrics are garbage.
Sure. He's the main pitcher I was referring to earlier when I said that there was other pitchers that in that cheap price range that we talk about. He's my third highest owned pitcher right now at like 30%. He's projected for 16% ownership. And it's not that I have any confidence here. It's just that he does have the ability to get strikeouts. He's in a good strikeout matchup. And I don't love a lot of pitching on this slate. So when I saw that I was getting to him, it was just like, oh shit, it's one of those slates. But I also understand why. Good strikeout numbers in the PCL this year. The ability is certainly there. 60 and 2/3 innings, 12 starts at AAA, 27% K percentage. Most projection models project him for around a 23% K percentage over the rest of the season, like a 4.2 to 4.4 FIP. The bat is the low man as usual on a prospect, 21% K percentage, 5.1 FIP. So I think that's kind of your floor projection. Everybody else is kind of in agreement on 23%, 4.2-ish FIP. So there's at least talent there. Like, this is a top 20 overall prospect in baseball, one of the better pitching prospects, and you do get strikeouts from the Mariners. That being said, 4.6 implied run total, plenty of power in the Mariners lineup. It's not a safe spot by any stretch, but it is nice to know that they made some adjustments like you were talking about. And even if they hadn't made those adjustments, you're not just taking, his first handful of major league starts and saying, oh, wow, this guy, everybody thought this guy was going to be a good pitcher. Apparently he's awful and is always going to be awful. But also knowing that they did make some adjustments is nice. We saw it, we talked about it yesterday and saw it with Christian Rodriguez yesterday, like another top pitching prospect that came up. He had more success than Brandon Pfaadt did in his early starts, but they sent him back to the minors. They were like, look, you need to clean this shit up and come back. He worked on his fastball command. He's been back and he's been great in 3 starts back. Not saying that's going to be the case necessarily, right out of the gate with Pfaadt, but the talent is there. And a lot of times it is just, you come up, you face major league hitting for the first time, and they make it very clear what you still need to work on. And you go back and you figure it out, and then you come back and you're better.
Yeah, it's interesting prospect. I hadn't realized how highly ranked he was. Like, he was top 5 for Arizona, and I think he was top 50 on most of the industry sheets.
Fangraphs
top 75 at least. But okay, yeah, top 75 on a few. How are you feeling about Brian Wu in this one? And then highlight any bats you're liking.
Yeah, tough matchup for Wu. I'm still getting around 10.5%. He's 8,300. He's projected for 9% ownership with a 10.5% chance of being the top 2 pitcher. Perfectly fine. He's got good strikeout stuff. He is somebody where obviously you're still waiting to see exactly how he ends up at the major league level, because he did come straight up from AA. But so far, he has just kind of hit the ground running. 28.9% K percentage, 3.8 xFIP. Would have a lot more of him if he were in a different matchup. But the Diamondbacks do have a good offense. They have a 4.4 implied run total. So getting around the field, slightly over the field on Wu. As far as bats go, I'm not getting to either stack all that much, getting like 3% of each stack in terms of 5-mans. But there are just quality hitters here. Corbin Carroll, obviously a really good play if you can get there. Somebody in chat had asked Matt Olson or Corbin Carroll. Good problem to have. I would go Olson, but you're not wrong with either choice. Ketel Marte is obviously good. Christian Walker, you get a little bit of value here with Dominic Canzone being back up at 2,100. On the Seattle side, they are, if I had to pick a stack, I would go Seattle, even though I'm also obviously playing Brandon Pfaadt, just because we still don't know exactly what this guy is at this point. And in a limited major league sample, he has allowed a 408 expected ISO to right-handed hitters. That doesn't make you feel great when you're about to face Julio Rodriguez, Teoscar Hernandez, Eugenio Suarez. But again, I'm not getting to a lot of either side offensively, but there is at least upside here because these offenses have power. And in Seattle's case, they're facing a pitcher that has struggled.
All right, 2 to go here. We've got Texas in San Diego. Martin Perez on the mound for the Rangers. Yu Darvish coming back with the Padres. Darvish with 37 or so now. It is a tough match going against Texas. They are without Corey Seager and Jonah Heim, so that does weaken the lineup a little bit. That means Robbie Grossman is back in our lives. He isn't quite up at the 2-hole yet, but if one more person goes down, you're going to have Robbie Grossman and Travis Jankowski both in the top 5, which is a far cry from the Texas juggernaut offense that we saw for the latter part of the last 3 months. San Diego, good bats, just not putting it all together this year. Martin Perez, normally he's someone I don't like to tangle with because he usually does a decent job of absorbing punishment and limiting home runs. He looks like he could be towards the end of the line at this point. I kind of like a little bit of everything from this game. There's nothing I'm going after, but if stuff lands in my lineup, I'm certainly not going to stop it from happening.
Yeah, this right now is shaping up as arguably the most important game for me.
Okay.
Yu Darvish is my second highest owned pitcher at 35%, 3.9 implied run total for Texas. And like you said, it's still a quality offense, but you are missing Corey Seager. You are missing Jonah Heim. That does water it down a bit. And Darvish is only 9,300. It's a good pitcher's park. And not only is it a good pitcher's park, it's San Diego. So it's 75 degrees on a day where most of these games are being played in massive heat and humidity. So that sets up well. Darvish himself is still a very good pitcher, 25% K percentage, 3.9 xFIP. So on this slate, happy to get to him. He's projected for 32% ownership. I'm right around the field. But the Rangers are projected for 1% aggregate ownership. And if the slate started right now, they would be my third highest owned stack against Darvish, getting to 8% of them in terms of 5-man stacks. And it's just that they're a very high upside offense and they are 1% owned. So when things go well, like they're capable of lighting up anybody. Darvish has allowed 1.3 home runs per 9 this year. The upside is certainly there. Now, if their ownership does creep up as the day goes on, I probably lose them pretty quickly because it's not a good spot. But it's a spot where it's kind of difficult. They're expensive enough, Darvish and the good Rangers at least, where there is a middle ground where Darvish, isn't a great pitcher but doesn't give up enough that you need the Rangers. But just given the amount of power that the Rangers have and the amount of strikeout ability that Darvish has, there's a pretty good chance that one of these sides ends up being really useful today.
All right.
As far as the Padres go, they're another middle of the pack stack for me and for the field. We have them with a 3% chance of being the top stack, 4% ownership. I have 4%. I prefer the matchup clearly for the Padres against Martin Perez compared to Texas against Darvish. It's just that the payoffs are a little bit better for Texas than for the Padres.
Yep, that makes sense. All right, last game. We'll talk lineup generator. We'll mention some top stacks, couple home run calls here. But first, everybody, happy Luke Weaver Day. It is finally here. You've got the Dodgers with just over a 6.3 implied run total now. Luke Weaver, my notes say there is bad, there is horrible, there's god awful, and there's whatever the hell Weaver is doing this season. 17 starts with 4 or more earned runs 11 times, 7.2 ERA, 6 FIP, 6 expected ERA. 5.4 extra base hits per 9 and a career worst 2.25 home runs per 9. Play everybody.
Yeah, he's not good. That being said, I'm not really getting to the Dodgers, but
it's because you got to go Peralta, Hayward, and Outman and just take the back half.
Right. Like I wish I were getting to the Dodgers. I would love for that to change because targeting Luke Weaver is one of my favorite things to do. And this is a good park for home runs. I know I've mentioned it a lot recently, but it's a top 5 park last 3 years in home run park factor and just doesn't have that reputation that the other parks do. But it's a good park for power. Luke Weaver loves to give up home runs. They're really expensive, so that makes life difficult. But yeah, if you can find ways to get to the Dodgers, by all means, go for it. We have them in top stack percentage with about an 8% chance of being the top stack, 6% aggregate ownership. They are only 6th in stack score because of how expensive they are. But, still, if you can make it work, they're in a very, very good spot.
How are you feeling about Emmett Sheehan?
I'm getting about 16% of him. Fields at about 8%. So he's another relatively inexpensive pitcher that I'm kind of just 2x the field on. I don't feel confident in him. He hasn't been very good so far. That's being extremely nice. 17% strikeout percentage, 12% walk percentage, 5.96 xFIP, 1.2 home runs per 9. He's another one that, I believe made a jump from AA, if I remember correctly. So you don't really know exactly what you're going to get from 10 starts at Double A this year, now 6 in the majors. But he's 7,400. It's an okay matchup against the Reds. They do only have a 4.3 implied run total. So just kind of taking my chances on Sheehan and hoping for the best, even though I have no confidence in that.
All right. Think of a couple home run calls and your top stacks, Adam. I'm going to talk the lineup generator. I've got that up on the screen. This is one of the neatest products we have here at Stochastic. It is for the main slates. So today that is going to be the 7 o'clock slate. You can use it for either DraftKings or FanDuel. Let's put it on DraftKings here. You pick your stack types, 5-3, 5-0, and 4-4 on DK. You go 4-4, 4-3, or 4-2-2 on FanDuel. What this is doing is this is taking out all of the bad lineups. You can also choose what lineup type you want. Chalky, balanced, contrarian. We can even go, well, let's go chalky. You'll see that it's not overly chalky. You can lock in a pitcher or a hitter. Maybe this isn't loaded yet. There we go. So it isn't fully loaded, but you can lock in one of the top 6 pitchers or one of the top 10 hitters and go from there. So you hit, you run it, you get a lineup, you can look at it. So we've got a 5-3 stack here with the Minnesota and Oakland. So you're getting a little Coors Field exposure there. Even though we picked chalky lineups, you can still see this isn't an overly chalky lineup. That's just kind of how baseball works. But you got Carlos Correa and Matt Wallner there at 14 and 10%. Zach Geloff, he'll probably end up being, he's 4,600, but he'll probably be a little more popular than 6.3%. But you can sort of see where the ownership is. Say we've got Bobby Miller. Oh, this is yesterday, so that's what it's doing. So this hasn't refreshed yet. But if we didn't like Bobby Miller, we can swap him out. You can say, okay, I've got $7,700 or so left in salary. You can pick somebody of that value or lower. You can get them on in, and boom, you've got your lineup. You can hit save, keep the lineup, keep hitting save, build out a bunch of lineups, and then we can go look at the portfolio that it's created for us. So again, this was a mishmash of yesterday and today's data, but you guys get the point here. You can see that, we can look at our percentages of where we are, even though we've said, give us chalky lineups. You can see that we don't really have many hitters that are within our portfolio, more than on a quarter of the lineups. That's a lot of fun to see. You can see your stack exposures. It counts anything that's 3 or more as a stack. So you can see, hey, we do have 100% Minnesota, but we also have, six Cleveland, at least 3 mans, and another 3 that are Oakland stacks. So it's a fun way to play the game. Very easy. Again, keeps you from making bad lineups. And it is, best of all, $8.95 per week. Use the promo code SCORE. Let me double check that promo code, but that will get you 50% off your first week. If you're playing $10-20 a day, this is well worth it for you. It helps you improve your lineups by so much. It makes it essentially, it pays for itself. And while I don't promise you amazing results, we've seen lots of people take down tournaments with this as well. Would you have any general thoughts on the lineup generator, Adam?
You mentioned it earlier when you talked about the Sims. Like, if you're not playing enough DFS volume, that $180 a month makes sense. Because obviously, like, it's defeating the point if you're paying a price that, like, you're not going to recoup from your improved DFS play. It's another way to just be much better. You're getting quality lineups that, you're getting quality lineups. So it's similar to the Sims tool, less customization, but you can still choose, your stacking and stuff like that. It's not simulating a bunch of lineups against each other, but it is just giving you lineups that over the long run are profitable lineups.
All right. Give us your top stacks and a home run call.
Top stacks for me, if the slate started right now: Oakland, Milwaukee, Texas. Oakland's the only one of those that I think is likely, that I would be surprised if it's not still there when we get the lock. In terms of top stacks, using the top stacks tool, Minnesota, Oakland, and the Dodgers are at the top. Dodgers obviously tough to get to. Home runs, I'll take Aaron Judge. If that's cheating, I'll take Matt Olson.
Okay. I agree mostly there on the stacks. You had a good point. If you're using optimizers, making 5-man stacks of Atlanta and the Dodgers is going to be tough. If you change that setting to 4-man stacks, you're going to get a lot more of them. That's something I found last night when I was building that stuff out. For me, I like Pete Alonso for a home run, and then we'll save Anthony Santander for Sunday because he likes to hit home runs on Sundays.
ESPN nationally televised game too.
Oh, I was not aware of that. Even better.
They get back-to-back national games. Tonight's on Fox. Tomorrow's on ESPN.
Look at that! Everything coming up roses there in B More. Very nice. Very nice. All right, we are going to get on out of here. You guys can follow Adam on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. I'm at EMACDFS. Of course, it is stochastic_com. Hit that like button. Get us up to 100. We will be eternally grateful. With that, gamers, good luck.